Welcome to Guided Spirit Conversations. I'm your host, Marla Goldberrg. This podcast has been created with you in mind to acquaint you with some of the most incredible metaphysicians and spiritual leaders from around the globe who have helped others change their lives. In this interactive hour, you will be offered insights and techniques to help you make a difference in your life. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on your favorite listening platform. And here we go, on to the show. Well, hello everyone. How are you doing? Welcome to Guided Spirit Conversations. I'm Marla Goldberrg. Today our guest is Amirah. Did I say that right?
Well, I think that was from another lifetime. You picked that.
Yeah. A miracle, Amirah. That's Amirah Hall. That's how I'll remember. Just think of her as a miracle. Amirah serves as a bridge between the physical and spiritual worlds, blending sacred with science. She is a gifted clairvoyant, spirit medium, channel, quantum healing pioneer with over 40 years experience on her spiritual journey. Amirah has a reputation as a world-class psychic, soul mystic, mentor, and author of 3 books, Manifesting Miracles 101, Love Up Your Life, and The Essential Guide to Spiritual Awakening. Her own spiritual awakening was triggered after her father's death, divorce, and life-threatening autoimmune disease. It was further amplified with a near-death experience while traveling to Egypt when her gifts of psychic vision, channeling, and mediumship opened. Since that time, she has followed her deep spiritual soul calling, healing, and teaching with others about the truth. Amirah has her master's in metaphysical science and is an ordained minister dedicated to providing spiritual tools and guidance to seekers going through their ascension process, reaching higher levels of awareness and healing, along with the creator of Reveal, a chakra healing intensive program and intuitive mastery training, developing third eye and beyond. Her programs assist you in energetic integration on every level, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Welcome, Amirah. How are you today?
I am fantastic. How are you doing?
I am great, thank you. You must have been a wee bitty thing when you were introduced to your path. 40 years, it doesn't look.
Well, I was in my early 20s, okay, so that's going to date me. I actually started, I was raised Catholic, okay, and I remember being curious in my teens about what they were doing in other churches. You know, they seemed to go in there and come out okay. For some reason, I had in my mind, if I went in, I wouldn't come out. So I started exploring and just being curious. What were they teaching that I wasn't hearing? And I had an aunt and uncle that died 2 days apart, and I was 10 years old. My aunt happened to be a nun, and the sisters of the convent told our family that they didn't inform the family because she was no longer part of our family. She was part of God's family. And so I remember that being significant for me. And although I attended Catholic school till I was finished school, until I went to college, there was not a commitment. My family stopped really committing to the church. And so maybe that was a blessing that just allowed me the sense of exploration and curiosity that was beyond what I was indoctrinated to. So that was the early stages. But, you know, I've always been curious in the unseen. And, you know, I knew today we'd be talking about psychic, right? And what that means and developing our third eye. And yes. I remember I went to a teacup reader and I told her I wanted to be psychic. But she told me I was really psychic. And I said, yes, I really want that. And she said, do you understand what that means? Do you understand the responsibility that comes with that? What are you going to do with it?
Wow.
So I often reflect on that. And I find a lot of new seekers and people awakening to their gifts. They want that gift or they want that ability, but they don't understand what they're stepping into. So I want to put that out there. I really think it's exciting, but it's something to respect and revere and cautionary.
So what are they stepping into? And for the people who want to open their third eye, who want to be psychics, intuitive, they want to work with their abilities, what is it?
Well, let's start from the beginning. We're multidimensional beings of light. And so it's not just seeing your deceased grandfather or knowing something in the future, because I believe that we're creating our future based on the energetics and the probabilities of what you're vibrating at today. And I know that's a mouthful, but it's like, what is your frequency at, and what are you looking at in terms of, let's say we're looking at somebody else's future. Where are they staged at in this moment? Their energy will create their future, and that can change. And that's why I don't like most psychic predictions, or even, I mean, tarot cards are fun, let's just face it, but it's not poured in stone or not poured in concrete.
No.
It is easily manipulated and changed based on your thoughts, based on your feelings, and unconscious programming.
I so agree. I had a reader do my, I don't even know what she did, if it was tarot or just a psychic reading, but I had gone into a local shop, and she said to me, she goes, "Now I want to share this with you. Whatever it is I tell you, take the information, take your notes, file it away, and then in 6 months or so, take it out and see what I've said to you, and if anything has come to fruition." And she said, "Because if you don't, and you keep thinking and looking for what I'm telling you, you're never going to get it." And my analogy is, it's like somebody trying to get a handful of running water, and they grab at it and they don't get the accumulation, they just get a wet hand. So you can't grab running water. So it's like, that's what I look at predictions as. Because even though it's coming through in the moment.
It's a great metaphor, because they're looking at a snapshot in time of what a possible outcome could be. And we're always in a free choice.
Yes.
And if we change our vibe, that's an easier, a simplification of the process, basically. But if we change how we think and change our trajectory, it completely changed the outcome.
Absolutely. And not only, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No. We've got a little bit of an overlap. Go ahead, please, Marla.
I was going to say that what's really interesting is there's a responsibility that also comes to all people who do readings. And that is to be mindful of what you're sharing with your client or the person you're talking to, and be respectful of making sure that they're okay with you sharing information, instead of, how you see Teresa Caputo in the supermarket stopping people, "Your grandmother's here," or whatever. Well, no. That's not real life. And that's not how you approach someone. You always have to say, I'm a psychic or I'm a medium and I have information for you. Are you willing to receive it? Are you okay receiving it? That's a huge responsibility that I think a lot of people don't realize that they have, or they need to have when sharing information.
So true, Marla. I was reflecting on a woman that came to me when I was living in San Diego, and I did not know it, but she had divorce papers in her purse. Now, I think this is, important, because we're in the month of love, and everybody seems to think that relationships, everybody's wanting to know when their next love of their life or how their relationship's going to work out. Well, so she came to me, and when I remember this so profoundly, because the energetics of that man she was married to looked like a grizzly bear. And he looked so violent and so mean and nasty. And I remember hearing a voice that said to me, "Don't judge him, or don't box it, keep it, define it as that. Just simply do what you do." So I pulled out my psychic magic wand and I started removing the energetic blocks. I can't recall what I did. I don't know what I did in the moment, but I used my clairvoyant abilities to connect with energies that were creating that situation. I removed the energies, and she called me 6 months later, just like you said, when, if this resonates with you. She said, Amirah, I don't know what you did, but when I came to see you, I had divorce papers in my purse, and this man completely changed, and we didn't split up.
That's a beautiful story. I love that.
It's a continual reminder to me, even if I see the most ugliest of situations, I can assist. My job is to assist in clearing the energy. Then it's up to the person. What do they want to create, and how do they want to, move forward in their life? Because it's their journey, not me. But most importantly, my responsibility is not to influence one step or another. I've got to be completely neutral. And that's what I teach people, is how to get neutral. Because I've got my own experience with dirt bags.
Who hasn't?
Yeah. And some of them can be transformed, some can't. And that's their choice too, right? So whatever energy I moved, he was able to shift and, create a whole different dynamic with his wife.
And what a beautiful gift that you were able to give to them, with her partnership. Because I always look at healings as being a partnership. It's not just us, stirring the pot, giving a potion and saying, voila, you're done. I mean, they've got their work to do as well. And so it's what a beautiful partnership. It's a great story. And the fact that the man was willing to shift, he didn't have to. Free will dictates.
He didn't know. He didn't know that I was doing the work. But whatever the unconscious energy was, it was most likely with her. The energetics of her influenced him. By me shifting her energetics, it allowed him to shift.
Exactly. Again, in partnership. But the point is they were still open to doing, because there's still free will. I mean, people who don't want to change their habits don't want to change their habits. And they don't, no matter how much work you do on them. And then there are some people who, feel the shift and feel lighter and happier. And it's like, wow, this is amazing. And then they become more open to what their partner is sharing with them.
And continuing the journey of learning, because I believe we come together in a relationship to learn about ourselves.
We do.
I think this woman that came to me, she was really at the end of her rope, and she was desperate. She had the papers drawn up, she had tried everything, so it seemed, and nothing was working. And so, I usually see people when they're at the end of the rope. Unfortunately, it doesn't have to be like that. We can start the ball rolling, and it doesn't always end ugly. That's the misconception.
Right.
That, even if your relationship is really crappy right now, because we've all been tested to the max, this too has room to shift.
It does. Those are such great words. And it's so great to remind people that there is room for their situations to shift and change. And that's wonderful. Now, where did your near-death experience fall into place to help you with your journey and being able to help others? Because you had a second opening. If I read it correctly, you had an opening, but then when you went to Egypt and you had a near-death experience there, it really cracked open for you. How did that work in terms of helping you?
Well, I didn't see it as helping me at the time. I mean, the trip to Egypt was fantastic. It was a spiritual escalation and I would say 10 steps up. But in terms of developing my own psychic abilities and just even seeing things that everybody else didn't see, that just happened almost instantaneously there. But the near-death experience, when I came back to the US, I was stuck in this zone of anger and fear and grief. And I didn't recognize myself. So there's been some people that have reported having near-death experiences and don't talk about their white light tunnel and their Jesus moment or whatever that might be. for me, after the stage of it, and I did have downloads of incredible information, but it was almost like landing an airplane and you come into this really dense energy. Like I got grounded and I was stuck in this zone. And I stayed stuck there for probably 9 months to a year.
Wow.
And I went to, talking about going to different psychics and healers, I went to probably a dozen different ones, trying to figure out what happened to me. And it was, that really pissed me off, quite honestly. I mean, every single one of them told me something different. And then I finally, it was like hitting my head against, a
Yeah.
wall, finally saying, Amirah, the answers are within, but they weren't coming. And that was incredibly frustrating. So
Yes.
I can totally relate to people that, put out there that they want the answer and nothing shows up. It wasn't until I found a healer in Northern California and we were over the phone and he said to me, oh, it's simple. He goes, you've got some stuck energy. And that was my huge opening. Because at that time I got fired. I fired my family. I quit my hobbies. I was just, a wreck. I was a train wreck. And life was pretty nasty at that time. And I was not a happy girl. Stuck in that zone of grief. You're not sure if you want to end your life or kill everybody around you.
I understand.
I laugh at it now, but when you're dark in that dark spot, some people call it the dark night of the soul. I think it was way more than that for me. I think I was caught in a dimensional shift I had to dig myself out. But more than that, pardon me, I learned from my near-death experience that I saw a timeline. And on this timeline, it showed me where everywhere I had emotional blocks that made me sick. So from like 8 years earlier, when I was diagnosed with death or wheelchair, I could see throughout my life where my emotions and my thoughts and that programming had got me stuck and was creating dis-ease and
Wow.
dysfunction. And that was the monumental moment of turning point.
That's an amazing turning point. But you also had chronic fatigue, I read, because I'm also, I'll say, survivor of it. I slept for 2 years. And
yeah, it's not fun, is it? It's extremely painful. Nobody understood it. And this was back in 1991. So the doctors told me to go home and prepare my affairs, that I would end up in a wheelchair or die.
wow.
And after crying for 2 weeks, I had no friends or family pretty much. I had just moved from Canada. So when I was recently divorced, then my dad died, so that everything hit. And within about 6 months time frame, so I was on my own. There was no internet. There was no resources, or very little resources. But there was an internist that told me, he goes, you've got emotional issues. That's your issue. And counseling and counseling and counseling, well, that was just spinning my wheels. That didn't get me anywhere, right? Talk about the same old thing. Yeah, you feel good for 10 minutes, but it just didn't do anything. So that's when I began my journey of taking care of my body. And maybe you discovered this yourself, detoxing, eating healthily, organic. There was no medicine. And actually, I'm grateful to the medical system that they turned their back on me back then, because it gave me strength to go through the last 2 years and to trust myself and my own immune system and my innate psychic intuition to guide me.
How fabulous. Mine was not quite the way. I did actually find a homeopath who, yes, I detoxed, I chelated, I, so much stuff, but here I am today and feeling great. So whatever she did worked, but I also started changing my life, not as quickly, but it did. And that makes a little bit of a difference, in your outlook.
Absolutely. I mean, it took me about 8 years because I was on a slow path to that, right? And that's when I started feeling stronger and making so much money. I was so a powerful manifester that I was a six-figure income earner back in the 90s. And that's when I decided I'm going to go to Egypt because something was missing. It wasn't all about the money. There was something missing in my life.
How amazing. So, how can my listeners overcome their energy blocks and get into their flow?
Boy, that's a gazillion-dollar question, isn't it?
It is. It is. I want to know too.
Yeah, well, we love being in the zone, and we all
Oh,
know that
yeah.
we've been there, right? If you're an artist or if you're a singer, you know when your voice and you're on key, or when your relationship is just so sweet and yummy, right?
Yes.
We just love those moments. And so what the very first step is, keep in mind, everybody comes to me when things are pretty screwed up. They're not
Right.
coming to me because life is
When things are good.
And I work with many, many very successful people. But the point is, they hit a block, okay? And everything that they've tried up until now just hasn't worked. Well, here's the news flash. Everything we've done up until now for all of us across the board isn't going to be working going forward. There's going to be new rules that we're going to have to play with.
Yeah.
That's because the energetics are changing. And so this is part of this whole spiritual awakening. But the very first thing for me, I practice every single day, and that is being present. Okay, in the steps of mindfulness, right? But learning how to be grounded. And I don't mean from your feet and imagine walking around in grass. That's all great. But what if you're in a high rise, right? Or what if you're in an airplane? How do you do that? And so what I teach people is basically from the base of our spine, imagine, let's say, a USB wire or a tree roots or a waterfall, but anchor it at the center of the planet.
Yeah.
And so just as I'm speaking to you today, I'm grounded. And you can probably feel that vibration versus if you're talking to somebody that's ungrounded and they're flooding around and their train of thoughts aren't coherent or any of those things, right? So being grounded, when we're grounded, people like to be with us.
Yes.
People, like Oprah to me is somebody that is so incredibly grounded. She is so focused and right there, right?
Yes. And
there's
Oprah wasn't always like that. Oprah, it's a process, it's a journey. And I think that's important for people to hear, that it's something you need to consistently practice to keep yourself in that.
Well, because as a spirit, if we think about your wonderful trip that you shared with me to Hawaii that you're planning on going to, guess what? Your spirit goes there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's come back and be in the room that we're in. And
Okay.
so the second tip, is learning how to stay in the center of your head. And what I do is I imagine from two little points at the tops of my ears, and then I draw a line straight down in the center. And if I close my eyes, I can visualize myself sitting in a big old chair, queen's chair, an empress's chair, goddess chair, sitting in the center of my head. And that is my point and place of power. So learning how to perceive the world from making decisions, from any kind of choice that you need to make, like what's next, but let's be present right now. And I think I've heard you say, or maybe it was one of your guests in your previous podcast, is that, when we get too far into the future, we become anxious. And
yes, I say that.
Right. Literally because your spirit is out of your body, out of the present, and it doesn't know where to go with it.
Exactly.
Right. So if we learn how to be present, so that all the training I do is teaching you how to have your spirit, your soul anchored and as close to your physical body as possible. Most people are running, like if we had a clock, let's say the body is at midnight, most people have their spirit at 6 o'clock.
Right.
Way ahead. So our spirit does that. It goes ahead and sort of plans our future for us. But what we need to do is pull it back a little bit and learn how to be in alignment with the body, because we came here to have a human experience. That's what it comes back to.
It's true. And when you are so projected so far ahead of yourself, you miss all the magic, in my opinion, the magic that you can experience if you stay in the now, in the present.
You miss the synchronicities.
Yes.
You miss potential
opportunities.
Yeah. And maybe even making a different decision.
Yeah. That would give you a different outcome that would be more beneficial for you than what it is. So, yeah. I think that you're so right with the in the moment, mindfulness, present, grounded, and it's not separate elements. It's sort of something that's blended together. I think because I don't know why I'm hearing that people are seeing it as segmented pieces of a puzzle. No, it is like a tartan plaid where the colors just weave together and form boxes and squares, but you're in one.
And so there again, how do we get there?
Yes.
Right. And that in the center of your head is the sixth chakra. But if you've got programs and filters operating and running, then you're going to have a perception that might be different than mine, let's say.
Yes.
So, and if you're down in your first and second chakra, worried about, let's say you've got all tangled up emotions, or your money situation or your family situation hasn't been resolved, then you could be stuck actually in the past, which actually is a lower vibration, and it doesn't exist.
Yes.
Yes, your memory exists, but you've got an emotional connection to that moment in time, and that's what's being triggered, taking you out of the present. So the way we get to be more present and to have a center point in the center of our head, to come to that 0 point, is learn how to release the energetic baggage, the unconscious programming, and all of those archives of information that we have stored in our energetic field. And because we can't see it, we can't put our finger on it. Yeah, you can remember that moment when, your mom and dad split up, or you can remember when, there was a loss in the family, or a career shift, or any of those, traumas.
Right.
I'm not discounting them. We all have them.
Yes.
But we have to clear that. That's even though, oh no, that memory, I don't think about that anymore. Oh, yes, you do. It's driving a big part of you, and you don't realize it. Yeah.
It's so true. And, there are people who project their fears, which imprint us. And then it affects our decision-making for the rest of our life.
I like to use the metaphor, like imagine as a clear soul, an energetic being that comes into is conceived. And then you come into your mother's womb, and all you are is a vibration. You're an energy. You develop, the fetus grows, and it continues growing. The whole time it's in the womb, what happened? You're matching, you're absorbing, you're integrating with your mother's vibration. That's it. You don't know anything but that.
Right.
Love and the warmth and that security. Then you're born and you continue, I call it matching or absorbing or aligning with all the frequencies around you, from your family, extended friends, church, religious, the culture that you're in. And that grows and grows and grows. Now, when we hit puberty, the way I see it is that we start to rebel. And what we're trying to do is unconsciously extract mom and dad's and everybody else's energy that was designed to teach us and get us on a path. But now we're trying to extract it so that we can connect with our original blueprint. And that's really oversimplifying it, but that's where we continue to go. We're trying to live our purpose along with our soul's blueprint.
Yes.
And trying to find that is remembering who we are and why we've come here. And that's why so many people I see, what's my purpose? Why am I here? Your purpose is to truly, truly know yourself.
I like that a lot. But what happens when the parent, the mother, or the mother and father are living in fear, are living in a negative or limiting belief system? So while the baby is in the womb, they're not only getting, they're receiving and soaking up all of these fear-based or negative limiting belief-based energies. How does that work with the individual coming out?
Well, just look around you. Just sorry.
Well, I know that. I was hoping for
well, gosh, that's a huge question because we're all conditioned like that.
Exactly.
And it's not good or bad or right or wrong or your mom was evil or she was so dysfunctional. Yeah, she was. Okay. And so are you because your mom was, right?
Right.
So we have to, as we wake up, we start learning, okay, it's just energy. Let's give all of that energy that isn't me, I'm going to give it back to mom. So when I'm working with a client, what I do is I start extracting mom's energy, give it back to mom, and that gives mom a healing. So wherever mom's at in her stage of development and growth, even if she's in the world of spirit, that energy goes to her, and dad too. And we reclaim your energy from mom, because I meet a lot of clients who are kind of like the mother to their mother, right? So, but their energy's gone to their mother, trying to control things, manipulate things, have it their way. And so we need to reclaim our energy too. When you start reclaiming your energy from far and wide, that's where the transformation starts, because you've got a bigger amount, more compressed amount of your own unique frequency. And that's what catapults you and, wait for this, triggers the law of attraction.
I absolutely love that. I absolutely love that piece. So is this information that's going to be found in your ebook? I know that you're promoting your free download on your website, The Essential Guide to the Spiritual Awakening. Would that information be in that?
There's a lot of that in there, probably worded in different ways. But yeah, I do also on my website have a stress buster guided meditation that's you can download and it's free. I just want people to start clearing their energy. And I equate that to an energy shower where you can just start letting it go, because we've all accumulated God knows what. Not only from this lifetime, right? There's other lifetimes, but we've got to start here. We've got to start with this lifetime. And we start clearing. And when the body feels safe, when we feel grounded and more present, we can let go of more. And as we let go of more that we are not, cultural programming, political programming, you name it, okay? When we let go of more and more and more of that, our light can shine brighter and our spiritual gifts will evolve and resurrect. They will be turned on. And then you'll need my help to understand what they are.
Then the frequencies will go out there attracting the good things, because what your frequency puts out is what you bring back to yourself. So it's that whole phrase, right? Where your thoughts go, energy flows.
Absolutely. And even when there's not so good things, I try not to say them good or bad, because I feel like, and I'm guilty of it too, but what I'm realizing is we're shifting out of this world of duality, where things are good or bad, or black or white, or hot or cold, and coming into this, well, they just are what they are. And so how do we, even if we hit these not so good moments, that we can be present and navigate them without being so emotionally overcharged that it becomes not necessarily a negative thing. It becomes more of an experience of being positive. Does that make sense?
It does. It's what's coming to me is Don Miguel Ruiz's senior don't take it personally. It's not personal. And that's what's floating in my head right now as you're talking, because if you don't take it personally and you take it as an experience, well, then you can take the possibly perceived negative, and that's a term I use a lot, is perceived negative beliefs, energies, whatever, out of whatever it is that's going on, and just look at it as, oh, what am I supposed to learn? Where am I supposed to grow? How am I supposed to grow from this experience?
Yeah, and when we have these pockets of fear, like we've had lots of over the last couple of years,
Yes.
what I teach my students is imagine putting that in a stick of dynamite and blowing it up.
Love it.
So it's like an instant thing that you can do. And it helps us shift, because it's like throwing a pebble in a pond. There's a ripple, and you don't really know where that pebble's going to land. You don't know how the ripples might shift a leaf that's floating on the pond, or even may make the ducks fly off the pond.
Right.
But it shifts the vibration so much that it actually opens up for possibilities, and it shifts your frequency. So whatever's sparking you or other people, like I've been on the phone with somebody that's losing their mind, and I'll just sit there and explode fireworks, and all of a sudden they calm down. So it's a fun psychic game that I teach my students, and we play with it, because we are creators. Let's create something different if we don't like it.
Exactly. Well, it's like a painting, right? If you don't like what you paint over it. Do something else.
I've done that lots of times.
And change it. So I just want to have everyone check out your website, which is Amirah Hall, AmirahHall.com. Check out her website, Amirah's website. Download the book, download the meditation, and see what offerings she has. But she does have an offering coming up in the fall. This is an exciting offering.
Oh, it's so exciting, because even though my first trip, I've been back to Egypt now about 12 times. The first time was, well, a landmark moment for me. You don't have to do that. In fact, we guide you in a very safe journey of exploring spirituality from an angle that here in the States we just don't get to access. And it's going to be amazing. We're going to have some private time in the Great Pyramid, private time for our group, and that'll be about 2 hours time. And we will have private time between the paws of the Sphinx. I believe the private time in the Great Pyramid is going to be on the full moon eclipse.
Oh,
so very
exciting.
Yeah.
Very
So
powerful.
it's going to be a group of like-minded people. It's not going to be a huge group where we have time to meditate and time to explore our spiritual gifts and ask a ton of questions and just explore the mysteries and go back in time when perhaps you did walk with me in the temples amongst many other masters. So
that's true. And as I mentioned to you, I found out I've had a number of lives in Egypt, and it really, interests me greatly. So as I said, not 2022, but maybe 2023 will be a trip to Egypt.
Well, I'll tell you, something magical happened to me, and I was not somebody that was really, curious about Egypt. I mean, I studied a little bit and did my reports in school kind of thing, but it wasn't on my bucket list at all. And when I stepped foot in Egypt, the strangest feeling happened was that, oh my God, I'm home.
Yeah, I can understand that. I dated an Egyptian man.
There's nothing like it, right?
Which now it's sort of like, oh my God, now I understand why, because it's sort of reconnecting with my, home country, one of my home countries. And it's powerful. So check out, again, Amirah Hall's website for more information on this trip. Now, I know your dates aren't confirmed, are not engraved in stone, as you say, but it's going to happen, and it's going to be an incredible experience, and one that you will not have again, because your first is always your first.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Profound. We're going to be doing a Nile cruise, I think 3 or 4 nights. We'll be going to all of the major temples and sites and doing special ceremony in most of them. We've got some very special lineups because Mary, my co-guide, or she's leading us, she's an Egyptologist. She's an American, an astrologer living out of Miami area. And Mary is a wealth of information. She's guided many, many very well-known groups in the past. She's got a lot of experience, and she has a home over there in Luxor. She's very well versed with all the nuances, let's say, of traveling there. She's leaving in a week or so to go back, and she'll be gone for a month, and she's going to be solidifying our dates. But yeah, she's just an amazing guide and extremely wise and prudent.
So if this resonates with you, if it sort of gets you excited, check out AmirahHall.com and see everything that's written about the trip. I know there's great descriptions about what's going to happen each day, so you know where you're going, what you're doing, and what you're going to come across educationally and spiritually, frequency-wise. So I'm so excited about this, to know about it. Like I said, I know this year's is not going to happen for me, but hopefully next year you'll do it again and I'll be able to be a part of it.
Marla, you just never know.
You never know. That's true. You don't. That's what happened with my first trip to Bali. Like I always wanted to go. All of a sudden something presented itself and boom, boom, 6 weeks later, there I was.
I know how it happens. It happened for me, like going to the Amazon and then to Egypt. And I can't believe I'm going to be going back the 13th time. I figured, I was there just before the revolution, and there were lots and lots of changes in Egypt. And Mary's been back several times, and she just says, oh my gosh, Egypt is so wide open, and there's no issues with, that we're facing over here in the US. And yeah, they're going on life like nothing ever happened.
That's great. It's absolutely wonderful. Well, it is charity shout out time, and I cannot not do my charity shout out. Your charity is the Women for Women International, and the website is www.women4for women, WOMEN, in case I'm not saying it correctly, .org. So WOMENFOR.WOMEN.org. Tell us about the organization and why you would like people to help and how they can help.
Well, my mission has always been to helping those that, just are underprivileged. And certainly women, I think, are the foundation. And I think there's just so much there that is unexplored, and they most often don't have the support to, let's say, start a business. And so that's why they're giving back to women. They're teaching women how to support their families and build businesses and just building a stronger economy in their communities. So I just really have a feel for women with business and supporting themselves and empowering their families and keeping all the balls in the air, but not struggling and not having to be so dependent on outside entities. So I'm totally for empowering the individual, giving them the tools to do that.
Which is so true, because you empower them to rely on themselves spiritually, trusting their guidance, their instinct, how to tap in, how to trust it. And it's the same thing with wanting an organization that supports people to be independent and self-reliant. So they both, I don't know if you see it that way, but.
Well, what you're bringing up for me right now is we have a systems, and we here in the West understand how to build business. I've got to say, from my personal experience of going to third world countries, is these people run on their intuition and spirituality, and they don't necessarily have the tools of developing or building a business, or the support, belief in themselves to build one, or the ideas that they could do it. So it's a kind of a flip-flop in a way. So once we give them the tools and the support, they're on. They're amazing. Yeah.
And we need more people to take their bootstraps, lift themselves up, and do what makes their heart sing, or what they think they could really build something on, so they can bring a livelihood for their family, for their unit, their community, whatever it might be. So it's really fabulous. Let's talk about the inner GPS.
Yeah.
Tell me, how can we learn to trust our intuition from this inner GPS? So what is it and how do we learn?
So our inner GPS, so for people that don't know, it's a global positioning system, right? All of our cars seem to have GPS, or our phone has GPS. I'm glued to mine, right? In a new area. Yeah. So, but most of us have discounted our inner guidance system. And because we rely on our device, and we rely on what someone else told us, and we believe what, let's say, a media tells us, and or somebody bigger than us, because that's how we were programmed from an early age. This is what you do. You believe or trust the people bigger than you. I mean, even in our schools, our educational system now, it's not. I've been out a while, so maybe I'm stepping out, but from what I'm hearing and seeing, the idea of thinking outside the box is kind of being squashed. And I think our inner GPS sometimes takes us outside the box, but it's being able to trust that inner voice, that guidance system, to take a step or make a direction or a decision that will be for your highest good. Again, it comes back to, how are we programmed? Who and what energy is interfering with that direct connection, that we have to clear that in order for that light or that strong connection to come on. So when we hear that little voice that says, you know what, you need to go to the store now, not later, right?
Right.
You need to, take time today, not go out in traffic and maybe there's a huge accident.
Right.
Speaking of accidents, I don't know, somebody's roaring by.
And there were some, I was like, whoa, that's loud.
Well, that's most of us, right? Roaring down the road and we're not listening. Look how that distracted us, right?
It did. It definitely pulled us out of our space.
We literally went out to the street to see who that was. And so everybody else did too. So everybody come back into your center zone and get grounded again. And I just laugh at it, and be amused, because that's what we do as spirits.
It's so true.
Yeah. And when we become aware of it, it becomes a different game. And
Yes.
when we look at it like a game and not like you did something wrong or you're bad or, you're so messed up, you're never going to get it. No. It's about having fun. Yeah. Getting into alignment. But hey, when our phone is all jammed up, when you've got malware on the phone, you can't get, or you lost a signal, what happens? You get lost.
You do. Unless you take out your dowsing rods and say, show me which way to go.
Again, you're still using your inner GPS and connection with your dowsing rod or your pendulum. I mean, there's been times where I used kinesiology because my mind was racing from something, so I'll do a muscle test real quick. But I don't tend to rely on that anymore because, my inner voice is very strong and very clear. But we've got to learn how to get quiet and listen to it.
It's true. And I know so many people are resistant to meditation because they feel like my mind isn't quiet enough. I can't stop the thoughts. I don't know what to do. And my feeling is don't stop the thoughts. Recognize them.
Right. Absolutely. So, there's lots of different meditations out there. I've tried lots of them. I started my journey as a TM meditator. And, that's why the Stress Buster, I call it Stress Buster. It's a guided visualization because it gets you to learn the principles of being present and being grounded, but it also uses cosmic and earth energies to just flush your energy field. So we're using the principle of quantum physics as well as learning and training your mind to focus on that. So in a way, it's not wandering and playing around. and it's sort of, it's multifaceted. You're not like, there's some great meditations where we just leave our body, right? It feels so
Yes.
fantastic. Yeah, who wants to be here? Well, guess what? You signed a contract with that human body. You signed up to come here. I'm sorry to break it to you. But that's what we got to do, is learn how to be here.
And learn how to not take everything as such dramatic and dramatic form and fashion.
Yeah. And or be too sensitive. If someone looks at you the wrong way or says something that offended you, well, you know what? That's a clue that you've got an energetic block. And I'm saying it very simply, but it's not that they offended you. It's your energy that was offended, because you've got some, it's not really a defect, there's malware. Let's call it a virus.
Okay.
And so once we extract that, all of a sudden, another person or the same person could say the same thing, and you're completely neutral to it.
Exactly.
That's the goal we want. So that we're not being triggered, because God knows there's plenty of those around these days. And hey, I've been doing this work for 22 years. I'm still working on it.
It's a journey. It's not the destination. It's not the end outcome. It's the journey you're going through.
Well said, Marla, because this, some people think, oh, I had my spiritual awakening last fall or in 2019. Because as I said, I had my major awakenings, but there's been many, upstarts and downstarts and zigzags, and it's just not an official flip switch that.
Well, it's not a linear journey. Energy flows like a river, and a river doesn't flow straight. And you may run into your dams and your boulders and, things blocking you, but you get through the river and just, enjoy it. That's why like those lazy river rides are always so popular.
Yeah.
Because people can just enjoy what's going on with it. So we're running. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's so key, is to be able to enjoy the spiritual awakening. Yeah. I love that.
And sometimes it's not as fun as we'd like it, but if it's all perception. And when you perceive that this is temporary, this is not a big deal, like it's excuse the expression, fart in the wind, it's just not there. You can then start having an enjoyment because you get curious. And I'm going to put brackets around curious, because it's really important as humans that we stay curious. That's in my opinion, of course, but yes,
willing to embrace it. What's next?
It's true. Absolutely true. So what is your favorite client healing? Before we're running out of time, so I want to get that in so that people can see how you're.
Yeah, in the alignment with love and relationships. I recall a story. I was working in Dubai, living there, and I was discovered by a royal family. And I've worked with many royal families since this royal princess. She called me, and in a nutshell, she wanted a better relationship with her husband. She wanted to travel with him. She had been married 15 years, and she had never been on a private trip with him. She wanted passion. She had no passion. She would go to bed with her kids at 7:00 at night. And the final thing was she wanted another child. So in the Middle East, as a royal princess, her job is to procreate. Keep in mind, for Western listeners, this is her job. She had 3 children. They were all IVF. Then there was a 4th IVF, and it failed. They called me because they had a 5th one planned, and they wanted it to be successful. Well, after working with her, all of a sudden her husband's coming home in the middle of the afternoon and very frisky, and he's giving her more gifts than she's ever had. She's all of a sudden discovers her passion, and she discovers trading, and she created a charity to give to children. And then everything was culminating, and she was having so much fun with this whole experience. After the 6 weeks or 8 weeks we worked together, 2 weeks later, she called me and she goes, Amirah, I have news for you. And I go, yeah, you're pregnant. And she said, how did you know? Wallah, I thought you were a crazy lady. I go, yeah, well, I just she got pregnant before the hormone therapy. And I remember in this journey with her, I asked her, what happened to you when you were 18? Because I could see on her timeline an energetic break. And she had broken the emotional connection to hers in her second chakra, what I call the baby maker. Her creative energy was severed. She goes, I was supposed to marry one man, and my family made me marry the prince. And her whole world changed. So she said, Amirah, I cried for 2 weeks. So when we cleared that energy and all of this happened, she told me, you gave me the biggest gift anybody could give me. And for a royal and very high level, that was significant. She said, you gave me the gift of feeling like a real woman.
Wow. That's a great story. That is really a fabulous story.
It's magical. And I can brag that I got a woman pregnant.
Which is pretty amazing unto itself, right?
And I'm not going into any other stuff, but it's God's work. I just facilitated it. It was between her and God. And she delivered a happy, healthy baby, beautiful baby boy.
Oh, that is such a great story. What a great way to end the show. Thank you so much, Amirah, for your information, for your guidance, how you're, what you're sharing with the audience. It's so special. It's such a gift. Thank you. Thank you so much. Please check out Amirah Hall at amirahhall.com. See how she can work with you. See how she can get you pregnant if you want to get pregnant. Wink, wink, wink. And if you don't, work on something else. You can find her on Facebook at Amirah Hall Soul Mystic. Instagram is Amirah Hall. LinkedIn is Amirah Hall. Twitter, Amirah Hall. And YouTube. Check out her YouTube channel. Look up Amirah Hall and you will find her. You're wonderful. Thank you so much. I so enjoyed having you on the show and all the information you shared. I want to thank Bridget, my right hand, my left hand. Thank you for all you do, not only for my show, but to keep me in line. Let's put it that way. So thank you, Bridget. I want to thank you, the listening audience, for taking time out of your day, out of your life, to participate in this show. This show was created with you in mind because I want to introduce you to amazing people like Amirah, who can help with your life's trajectory, what's going on, shifting, removing blocks, and helping you to tap into your inner GPS. Also, don't forget to download her book, which is called The Essential Guide to Spiritual Awakening. And don't forget to download the meditation, which is called, Amirah, I forgot the name of the meditation.
Stress buster. Yeah.
Stress buster. Yes, let's bust that stress. So please check that out. If you love the podcast, as I love the podcast, please subscribe to it on your favorite listening platform so you don't have to miss one episode of the show. Or maybe you want to catch some words that Amirah had said earlier and you want to be reminded of what they are. Listen to the show again. So also, if you're in the Charlotte area, I am at the Bag Lady, which is at 1516 East 4th Street in Charlotte, North Carolina, Friday, the 25th of February from 2:30 to 6:30 p.m. If you can't make it, I do remote sessions with my clients, and I can help you. Check me out at Marla Goldberrg. Goldberg has 2Rs.com, and see how I can work with you. So until the next time, as always, I send you love. I send you blessings and I send you gratitude. Know how grateful that you're in my life in whatever capacity you're in it. And if you haven't heard these words today, or even if you have, I'm going to say them again. I love you. You are loved. You are never alone. And if you need something, reach out to your guides, your angels, your archangels. Speak what you need. Ask for help because they don't have free will. So when you ask what you want, you get them working on your behalf. They will then conspire to manifest what you need manifested for you. And until next week, as always, stay well. Take care.